Hi, my name is Pascal Doucette, VP of Sales at Doucette Machinery. Today we're taking the opportunity we have to show you the step-by-step instruction of how to install your return conveyor BT3 over at the end of an edge bander. Okay, so when you receive your BT3 and we pull out from the crate, the main unit, as we're seeing here, is all assembled in one piece most of the time, except if you have a very large transfer zone, it could be disassembled, but most of the time it's going to be on one piece. The other big part you're going to get will be the return extension, which for the occasion here we pre-assemble the leg, but normally you have to assemble the legs under it. And then you're getting some free component too, like that's the sensor holding device. You get some pressure wheels sometimes, depending on the option package. Also, depending on the option package, you're going to get some motorized arm. This one we disassembled yesterday to locate our bender, but we're going to show you how to reassemble it. And also, if you order the PT90 option, you're going to get like a PT90 carrier that we have to assemble to the frame after we're done. Also, tooling wise, for sure you're going to need some screwdrivers, at least a flat one, and I'm going to show why, an Allen wrench set and normal wrench of few dimensions, but all in imperials. Also, you're getting a package with some extra band in there, a couple of couplings, and the instruction, that kind of things. That's all in that little bag. So, quick tip before we start. It may happen that during the install you need to pull out the rollers to get access to some component in it. So each roller is made with a spring load end, and so when you need to remove those rollers, you go on the opposite side of the driving shaft. You use the flat screwdriver that you insert in the groove, and you can easily like pull it out. So it's the same thing when you want to pull that in. You're just going back, you put your screwdriver back, and then you slide it back. So the first step is to approach a main unit to the bander. So what we did is we tried to get that steel roller here as close as possible to the end of the bander for the proper transition for the narrow part. On the other side, you need to be about 6 inches from the edge of the conveyor. This is where you're trying to get your reference position on the bander. So as you see, to get that really well positioned, that's why we remove the first arm, so we can get very close. And after we're going to be level, then we're going to install our arm again at the right position. As you can see, there's multiple grooves on that rollers. So that's allowing you to pick, depending on the width of your chain or something, you can move those arms based on your install. Okay, so as we're trying to level our main unit to the same level than the bander, as you can see here, that's what we call the motorized in-feed, and we've got the receiving area. So right now, the receiving area is about 2 inches lower than the motorized in-feed. When we're going to plug the air, that's going to come up to that same level as here. So what I did now is I put my level on my rollers, and I'm measuring how much I need to go down. So right now, I need to go about 1.5 inches down. So how I do that is I use a pallet jack on the back. I raise my front end of the unit so my legs are free, and with a half inch wrench and a 3/4 wrench, I can unlock the inside bolt, and then I can move my legs to the right height. Okay, now that our leveling stop has been done, there's 5 legs on that main frame. So we did adjust the 5 legs. Our starting reference point was the edge bander chain. So we installed kind of that first leg here, and then we leveled all the other one. After I did the level, I put the air on, so that in-feed section, receiving station, came up to the same level than the motorized in-feed, and I could see that everything's still level there, and I'm all in line with the edge bander feed. The other important point I want to insist again, we did validate that we were as close as we can from the bender exit. And as you can see on that specific model, this is my obstacle. That's about a 1/4 inch where I could not go farther in. So the idea is you want to minimize the gap here so a small piece doesn't fall between, you avoid a catching thing. You can also note that on that edge bander model, there's like the middle sheet, they made to be removed if needed. On that one, we don't need to be removed, but there's some benders sometimes that finish with a wall here at the end, and those motorized arms, they need to be inserted inside the machine. And those machines, they have normally like pre-stress hole that you can pull it out and the arm goes in, or sometimes you need to make a meter cut to slide the arms in. Okay. So just a quick trip here. During the install of the return conveyor, we did remove the outrigger rail that was installed on the edge bander. We're going to reinstall it later, but for now we don't want it in our way, so we put it back where we pull it out. Some track, they need to be either cut out to be the proper length after you install everything, or some of them it's just a slide out. So, but for now we just put it out and it's easier at that point. Okay, now we did install our first extension. I'm going to show you the process how you put the extension all together. But the first thing is how to recognize which section goes where. So the first section, if you have the PT90 option, you're going to have that part here, which is the same that you have on the main unit. This is where it's going to be attached the PT90 side conveyor. The last extension of the bunch you have is the one which has a hand plate. Okay, here in the installation today it's a short bender, so we only have 2 extensions. But if you're having a long bender with multiple extension, that means that you know your first one, you know your last one, all the other ones are put in the middle. Also, as you can see, we already pre-removed the first 2 rollers here, and now I'm going to take out the roller on the other extension before we start. So as you could see, as we put them together, there's 4 bolts, so 2 on each side to line up. And then after that, with a 9/16 wrench and ratchet, you can tighten up those bolts. When I'm close of tightening, I will make sure that both top here are equal, because that will also line up my harbor under it. Okay, now that we have installed our extension all together, we did validate they were all level from one end to the other. The next step is to assemble the arbors to power the rollers. So you're going to need like a 1/8 Allen key to first unlock the couplings. They were tied up for the shipment purposes, so I do the unlocking on both coupling. Now both of them are moving, and in the bag with parts you got those star insert, whatever you call it, and you need to put it between the 2 inserts. So it's kind of the joint coupling that you're going to get there. In order to help me, sometimes I use like a wrench like this, and I could squeeze those in together. If you can, you try to push the keyway in too, to make sure that when you lock the keyway. So this is how you do the coupling assembly. Then I will put back my roller on. When I do the test run, if I feel there's a vibration a lot on the rollers, so that may be because those shafts, like they were misaligned a little bit. So what you can do as a trick, and you can lose those 4 nuts and bolts here and run it while they're loose. It will kind of self-align, and then you can retie them back. Okay, now we're gonna go doing the second motorized arm. So most of the bender, they have like a black plastic or whatever, something in there that's hold the part that's coming out. So I kind of remove the bolting system for that, and this is where the arm's going to go. The reason why we install the arm on this side of the chain is when you do like a narrow part, like a drawer front on the long side, and your piece is going to be, let's say, that wide, and it will not be touching the other arms or the rollers. So we want to be sure that that piece is being pulled out. And so that's why it goes inside there, and it will go inside. And that, again, multiple grooves, so you can pick up where it's going to be installed, and you need to be as close as possible from your side. Okay, so so the arm is finally installed. At that point, you can see how close I am from the chain. That's the goal. And anyway, from day one, so that's why I was able to move from that slot to that one to be at that location. You need like a 7/16 wrench or ratchet. So basically, you have those two bolts there. You have those two bolts out there that allow you to move the arm that way, and those two one here lock the arm in place, and the bottom one is a slot. So this is how you adjust the angle, making sure that you're level with the other arms. Okay, so when you got your return, there was like that string here come with two quick connect for the sensors and the air hoses. So the air hose is going to go here on the pneumatic cylinder, and the quick connect is going to go to those two sensors, which trigger the cycle. First, we need to physically install those. 7/16 wrench, 4 bolts. They already drilled in the frame. So you come on the side and you just install and bolt those one in. My structure is installed. First of thing, I'm plugging in the pneumatic hoses, so they're quick connect fitting. Right now on that model we have 2 sensors, and the reason why we have 2 sensors because we have the small part deviator. When you don't have the deviator option, we only have 1 sensor there with trigger. So as we have 2 sensors, we have 2 connection. So there's 2 quick connect. CP1 is the one closest to the bender. CP2 is the one closest to the cylinder. Okay, now that's the pressuring wheel. Those pressure wheels, they come when you buy the option of panel turner PD90. Those pressure wheels are installed here, okay, and they're made to hold a long panel when it's transiting over the motorized roller in feed, and until it reaches that receiving level. I've seen some customer installing it that way. That's wrong. Please do it the other way. That's the proper way. Wheels toward the bender. Okay, now that I've assembled my pressing wheel over my end, now I want to adjust the height. So the way to do it is, normally you place a panel, you slack those 2 bolts, then you're able to move it in height. The goal here is not necessarily to apply a high pressure on it, just like about 1/16 over your panel, just to make sure that the overhanging weight will not fall out. Okay, now that we place our wheels, what we want to do is to adjust the height of the sensor and deviator device. So the way to do it is you place a panel in front, and as you can see the red dots, that's where the sensor is reading right now. You're trying to center it, or at least making sure that you're never touching the rollers. So you need to be at least over the bottom of your panel and make sure that you cover like your thinnest panel as possible. So the way to do it is you just lose those two bolts here. So that will move your sensor up and down so you can locate it. And then when you like. Okay, so now we're going to be installing the panel turning device, the PD90. It's easily, you have the two support bracket here. We need a shoulder screw that was screw in for the shipment and an Allen wrench. Pretty easy, good with one person at each end. And we're going to show you how to install it. So. Okay, now that we're done with the pivot point, we're going to lift that up. So you just pivot it. There's a locking pin that you need to remove, and then you pivot it down. Obviously right now we're not level, so we're going to have to adjust the working height to be level with the conveyors. Okay, now that we're done with the return conveyors, we're going to install the air table. Air table is optional, but if you have it, remember they are like on the pneumatic system, activated with a foot pedal. So you receive the panel here, you step the foot pedal, the table is going to come up about 2 inches to be at the same feeding height than the bender. So the goal here is just to level the forelegs both direction at the same level than the roller. After you're done, you have also electrical wire for the blower that you bring under the conveyor back to the main panel, and then you're all set. Also, when you get the main unit, that operating console is already hooked up to the main panel. Just unroll the wire under your return conveyor. The main console will come with magnet on the back, so you can install it pretty much anywhere you wish to have it. For example, you can stick it to the air table at the end, on the side. Some people even place it on the bender. It's up to them. Okay, here we are by the panel side. This is where you can get access to the air. So this is where you hooked up the air. You get also access to all the valve behind, the flow controls, and also this is the access to the electrical panel, which you can close the door very easily as you go when you need access in the field. Okay. Okay, we are back at the main panel. So this is the wire from the air table that we just passed under the roller conveyor, then came back here. Here we already pre-hooked up the main power, which is coming from those 3 wires there, and the ground is behind. We have 3 motors on that unit, the roller for the drive, which is variable speed. We have the transfer belt contactor, and that's the air table blower contactor. So we're going to order our 3 main wire to there and the green wire to the ground. Okay, we are the final step of our return conveyor assembly. Just before we start explaining you the different buttons you have: emergency button, start and stop cycle, the speed adjustment. What's important on the speed adjustment is trying to match your edge bander speed. You can be a bit faster, doesn't matter. What is important is never be slower, because if you are slower, that could create a collision between panel at the exit. And there's also the transfer bypass switch. In case you are doing like a very large panel, bigger than the spec on the conveyor, once in a while you can turn the bypass and it will just receive on the receiving roller. You need somebody to catch at the other end. If not, the system. And again, as I mentioned before, magnet, you place it where you want and where it's going to be easy. So then we're going to start the machine and run.